The early morning sun cast long shadows across Lambert International Airport's main terminal, where the familiar symphony of rolling luggage and muffled announcements filled the air. Security personnel moved through their positions with practiced efficiency as travelers flowed through in steady streams. Agent Anton Santos walked through the main concourse, his steps measured and purposeful. The Filipino-American FBI agent carried himself with quiet confidence earned through 12 years of distinguished service. His latest assignment had brought him to Lambert regularly, coordinating security for an upcoming diplomatic summit that would host 3 Southeast Asian leaders. His father's words echoed in his mind. Excellence is the best answer to prejudice. The senior Santos had been one of the first Filipino-American officers in their hometown police force, facing challenges that his son now encountered in different forms. At the main security checkpoint, Officer Derek Walsh watched the flow of travelers with growing irritation. His 15 years at airport security had hardened his views, particularly about who looked suspicious. 3 formal complaints about his aggressive profiling of minorities sat unaddressed on his supervisor's desk. "Something's off about that." Walsh muttered to his partner, Officer Rogers, nodding toward Anton. "Too confident, like he owns the place." Rogers glanced up briefly from his logbook. "The guy with the FBI badge?" "FBI badge." Walsh scoffed, his voice tight with suspicion. "Anyone can buy those online these days. These people think they can fool us with fake credentials." Linda Martinez, a veteran airport employee who had worked with Anton during previous security operations, noticed Walsh's attention shift. She had seen that look before. It usually preceded another of Walsh's random security checks. As Anton approached the checkpoint, Walsh stepped forward, hand raised. "Stop right there," he barked, his tone sharp. "Those credentials, let me see them." Anton paused, maintaining his professional demeanor. Years of experience had taught him how to handle such situations. "Of course, officer." He held out his FBI badge and ID. Walsh snatched the credentials, turning them over roughly in his hands. "These look suspicious. Too new, too clean." "Officer, you can easily verify these through your supervisor or—" "Shut it!" Walsh interrupted, voice rising. "We've had reports of people impersonating federal agents. You're coming with me." Several travelers slowed their pace, phones emerging to record the confrontation. A young woman nearby whispered to her companion, "Is he seriously questioning an FBI agent just because he's Filipino?" "I said move," Walsh demanded, grabbing Anton's arm roughly. "Security office, now." Anton remained composed, though his jaw tightened slightly. The morning light streamed through the terminal windows, illuminating the growing crowd of onlookers. Their phones captured every moment, every word, as the confrontation unfolded before them. "Officer Walsh, yes, I can read your nameplate. You're making a serious mistake." "The only mistake here is thinking you could walk in with fake credentials," Walsh sneered, tightening his grip. "Real federal agents don't look like—" "Like what, Officer Walsh?" Anton's voice remained steady, carrying across the now silent checkpoint. "Please, finish that sentence. I'm sure everyone recording this would be very interested in your perspective." "Linda." Martinez had seen enough. Pulling out her phone, she dialed Airport Security Director Sarah Matthews' direct line. This had gone too far, and she knew exactly who needed to intervene. Walsh's face reddened as he noticed the growing crowd, but his grip on Anton's arm only tightened. "Security office, now, or I'll have you arrested for impersonating a federal agent." The morning travelers had completely stopped now, forming a circle around the confrontation. Phones recorded from every angle as Walsh began forcefully directing Anton toward the security office. The tension in the air was palpable, each witness knowing they were watching something significant unfold. "Nothing to see here," Walsh barked at the onlookers, his voice carrying a nervous edge. "This is official airport security business." Officer, Anton spoke calmly, addressing not just Walsh, but the recording crowd. I want to be clear. You're currently detaining a federal agent, conducting official business. This will have consequences. Save your threats, Walsh scoffed, shoving Anton toward the security office. Behind them, the crowd's murmurs grew louder, more phones appearing to record the incident. The morning sun cast long shadows through the terminal windows, highlighting the tension in every face that watched. Inside the small security office, fluorescent lights buzzed overhead as Walsh directed Anton to a metal chair. Sit down, hands where I can see them. His voice carried a mix of authority and barely contained anger that echoed off the bare walls. Officer Rogers lingered by the door, uncertainty creeping across his face. 3 years working alongside Walsh had shown him patterns he'd tried to ignore. The targeting of certain travelers, the escalating aggression, the complaints that somehow disappeared from the system before reaching higher authorities. Officer Walsh. Anton remained seated, his voice steady despite the situation. My name is Agent Anton Santos, FBI Anti-Terrorism Division. One phone call to your supervisor will verify everything. This doesn't need to escalate further. Walsh paced in front of Anton, studying the FBI credentials with exaggerated scrutiny. Oh, these are good. Very professional. Must have cost a pretty penny. He held the badge up to the light, turning it over in his hands. Where'd you get it? Some back-alley dealer or just ordered it off the internet? Through the office's glass walls, Linda Martinez watched while still on the phone, her free hand clutching her employee badge tightly. Yes, Director Matthews, he has Agent Santos in custody. Yes, the same Agent Santos who's coordinating the diplomatic summit. No, Walsh wouldn't listen to reason. He's becoming more aggressive. Inside, Walsh's radio crackled with static before a voice cut through. Dispatch to Officer Walsh. Please verify your situation and status. Walsh here. He barked into the radio, eyes never leaving Anton. Got a suspect with fraudulent federal credentials. Waiting for verification team. Possible security breach in progress. Anton's eyes tracked Walsh's movements, noting every detail for his eventual report. His training kicked in, observing and documenting each escalation, each overreach. Officer, you're currently detaining a federal agent without cause. Think carefully about your next actions. Everything happening here will be reviewed. Without cause? Walsh turned sharply, his face reddening further with each passing moment. You walk in here, flashing a badge that looks fresh out of the printer, and expect us to just wave you through. That's not how security works. Those credentials, Anton stated calmly, meeting Walsh's hostile gaze, were issued by the Federal Bureau of Investigation. I've been coordinating security for next week's diplomatic summit, a summit you were personally briefed about last month. If you'd simply follow standard verification procedures. Standard procedures? Walsh cut him off, slapping the credentials down on his desk. I know every procedure in this airport. 15 years I've protected this place from people trying to slip through. People who think they can fool us with fake IDs and smooth talk. Sir, Rogers spoke up from his position by the door, his voice hesitant but growing firmer. Maybe we should call Director Matthews first. Protocol says all federal credential disputes need to be... Protocol. Walsh spun toward his partner, jabbing a finger in his direction. I've been doing this job since before you finished high school. I know what a real federal agent looks like. Anton's gaze met Walsh's directly, his voice carrying a quiet authority that filled the small office. And what exactly does a real federal agent look like, Officer Walsh? Please, elaborate for the record. The tension in the small office was suddenly broken by the sound of hurried footsteps approaching. The door burst open as Airport Security Director Sarah Matthews strode in, her expression thunderous. Behind her stood FBI Assistant Director James Chen, his presence immediately commanding attention. Walsh! Matthews's voice cut through the room like a knife. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" Walsh turned, startled by the sudden intervention, his hand dropping from where it rested on his holster. "Ma'am, I was following protocol. These credentials are absolutely legitimate," Chen interrupted, his voice cold with authority. "Agent Santos is not only a federal agent, he's the lead coordinator for next week's diplomatic summit. A summit your entire department was briefed on extensively last month." The color drained from Walsh's face as recognition slowly dawned. Through the glass walls, the crowd of onlookers had grown, their phones still recording every moment of his humiliation. There were reports of fake credentials," Walsh stammered, his earlier confidence evaporating. "The only report I'm interested in," Matthews cut in, her voice sharp enough to make Rogers sharpen. The incident at Lambert International spread rapidly through every terminal. In Director Matthews' office, security footage played across multiple screens, showing different angles of the confrontation. Walsh's aggressive approach, Anton's composed responses, and the growing crowd of witnesses, all preserved in high-definition detail. 4,000 shares in the last hour," Matthews said, rubbing her temples as she looked at the social media reports. She turned to FBI Assistant Director Chen, who stood by the window watching planes taxi on the runway. "The public response is overwhelming. Across various platforms, the story exploded. Justice for Agent Santos, 50,000 tweets and climbing. Stop airport profiling, trending nationwide. Lambert airport bias. Local news stations requesting comment in the airport's main security office." Anton sat typing his official report. His phone buzzed constantly with messages from fellow agents and colleagues across the country. Each notification brought another story, another incident, another agent who'd faced similar treatment but stayed quiet. Outside, news vans lined the terminal entrance. A local anchor stood before the cameras, microphone in hand. "Breaking news. An FBI agent was racially profiled at Lambert International Airport this morning. The incident, captured on multiple phones, shows Officer Derek Walsh aggressively questioning the agent's credentials despite clear identification." Linda Martinez knocked on Anton's door, carrying a thick stack of papers. "Agent Santos, more. People have come forward. Other travelers, airport employees, all with similar stories about Officer Walsh. It's like a dam breaking." Anton took the statements, scanning through them quickly. Each page revealed the same pattern: minority professionals targeted, credentials questioned, dignity undermined. Doctors missing surgeries, professors late for conferences, pilots delayed for flights, all because they didn't look right to Walsh. Across town, Walsh sat in his living room, watching his career unravel on multiple news channels. His wife stood in the doorway, arms crossed, shaking her head at the footage playing on screen. "I was just following protocol," he muttered, more to himself than to her. "You have to be thorough in this job. You have to question things." "Protocol?" His wife's voice carried years of unspoken concerns. "Derek, I've watched the video 12 times now. That wasn't protocol, that was prejudice, pure and simple, and now everyone can see it." Back at the airport, Director Matthews called an emergency meeting of all security supervisors. The large conference room filled quickly, faces tense with concern as they watched more footage surface online. "As of this morning," Matthews began, her voice firm, "we're implementing immediate changes to our security protocols. Every interaction will be recorded. Every complaint will be investigated. No exceptions, no excuses, no covering for colleagues. This ends now." In the FBI field office, Anton met with the Civil Rights Division. His incident had unveiled a pattern that went beyond one officer's prejudice, beyond one airport's problems. "Agent Santos," Assistant Director Chen spoke, pointing to a map covered in red dots. "Your incident opened a floodgate. We're receiving reports from airports nationwide. This isn't isolated, it's systemic. The data projected on the screen told a disturbing story. Similar cases of profiling had been reported at major airports across the country, often buried under bureaucratic paperwork or dismissed as standard procedure. Each dot on the map represented a career threatened, a dignity assaulted, a right violated. Outside Lambert International, reporters gathered as more witnesses came forward. Dr. James Lee, a renowned surgeon, described being detained by Walsh last month, missing a critical surgery. Captain Maria Rodriguez, a commercial airline pilot with 16 years' experience, shared how Walsh had questioned her credentials, despite her uniform and multiple forms of ID. Social media amplified each new revelation. The Airport Watch. This happens every day, finally caught on camera. Civil rights now. Time for systemic change in airport security nationwide. Suckered Travelers United. How many careers have been derailed by this type of profiling? Anton's phone buzzed with a message from his father. Son, your handling of this situation made a difference. Change comes from standing firm with dignity. Today, you stood for all of us. In the security office, Officer Rogers sat through his interview with Internal Affairs. I saw the signs, he admitted, staring at his hands. Walsh's random selections weren't random at all. I should have reported it sooner. We all should have. The investigation expanded hour by hour. Reviews of past incidents revealed a pattern of discriminatory behavior that had gone unchecked for years. Each new revelation strengthened the case for Sisti. Director Matthews stood before a wall of screens in the airport's command center. Each display showed different news coverage of the incident, the story growing beyond Lambert International and sparking discussions nationwide. The footage raises serious questions about racial profiling in airport security, one anchor reported. Sources confirm Officer Walsh had multiple complaints filed against him in the past year alone. FBI agent Anton Santos's professional handling of the situation has drawn praise from law enforcement experts, another broadcast declared. In a nearby conference room, Anton reviewed security logs with FBI analysts. The pattern in Walsh's record emerged with stark clarity. In the past 6 months alone, 87% of his random checks targeted minority professionals. Linda Martinez entered with another stack of witness statements. Agent Santos, you need to see. This one, Dr. Sarah Kim, neurosurgeon. Walsh detained her for 3 hours last month. She missed her conference keynote speech. 3 hours for a credential check? Anton looked up from the logs. She's not alone. Linda spread more papers across. The table. Professor Ahmed Hassan, detained 2 hours. Judge Maria Garcia, 90 minutes. All of them showed proper ID. All of them missed crucial appointments. In the police union office, Walsh sat across from his representative, watching more footage. Surface online. This isn't going away, Derek, the union rep said, closing his laptop. They have documentation going back months, years maybe, multiple witnesses, multiple victims. I was just being thorough, Walsh insisted, defensive. Some people need extra screening. You can't be too careful these days. Extra screening. The rep leaned forward. The FBI agent you detained was there for a diplomatic security briefing. Your own briefing, Derek, the one you attended last month. Throughout the main terminal, new signs appeared at security checkpoints. See something? Say something? Report security misconduct. Know your rights during screening. All valid credentials must be respected. Airport staff underwent immediate retraining. Dr. Sarah Chen from the FBI's Civil Rights Division led the sessions using footage from Anton's incident to illustrate proper and improper procedures. Watch how Agent Santos maintains his composure, Dr. Chen pointed to the screen. Now watch Officer Walsh's escalating behavior. This is what unchecked bias looks like. In action, this is what we must prevent. The investigation expanded beyond Walsh. Internal Affairs discovered similar patterns with other officers, though none as blatant or frequent. Each new revelation strengthened the case for systemic change. In the break room, security officers watched the continuing coverage. Some defended Walsh, claiming he was just being cautious. Others admitted they'd seen problems but stayed silent. "Remember that pilot last week?" one officer said. "Walsh held her for an hour because her captain's stripes looked new. She nearly missed her flight." "And that district attorney last month," another added. "Walsh said his bar association card must be fake because he was too young to be a lawyer." Outside, protesters gathered at the airport entrance. Their signs told stories of their own experiences. "I was detained for being a black doctor. My medical license wasn't convincing enough. Stop judging credentials by color." Anton's phone rang. The Secretary of Homeland Security wanted a briefing. This incident was becoming a catalyst for national reform. In Matthews' office, the task force compiled their initial findings. It's in documented incidents of biased screening in 6 months. 9% targeting minority professionals, average detention time 47 minutes, estimated cost in missed flights, appointments, 2.3 million. "This goes deeper than we thought," Matthews told Chen. "It's not just Walsh, it's the whole system that let this happen." The sun set on Lambert International, but the story continued to grow. News crews set up for evening broadcasts, social media engagement soared, and more witnesses came forward with their stories. In his office, Anton finished his report, adding a personal note. "Today's incident exposed more than one officer's bias. It revealed a systemic failure to protect equal rights under the law. The question now is not just about punishment, but about prevention." 1 week after the incident, Lambert International Airport hosted a landmark summit on airport security reform. Security directors from major airports filled the main conference hall, their faces grave as they watched the complete footage of Walsh's confrontation with Anton. Director Matthews stood at the podium, addressing the packed room. What happened last week wasn't an isolated incident. It was a wake-up call. Today, we begin implementing comprehensive changes to prevent this from ever happening again. In the back of the room, a familiar face caught Anton's attention. Sarah Walsh, Officer Walsh's daughter and a civil rights attorney, had come to speak about her own experiences. "My father's actions weren't just isolated incidents," Sarah began, her voice steady despite the emotion behind it. "They were symptoms of a deeper problem, a problem I saw growing up but didn't have the courage to address. Today, that changes." The audience listened in silence as she shared her perspective. Photos appeared on the screen behind her. Walsh at police graduations, family picnics, community events. The evolution of a once dedicated officer whose biases had gradually overtaken his judgment. Meanwhile, across town at the FBI field office, the Civil Rights Division presented their expanded findings. Similar incidents reported across 12 major airports, 89% targeting minority professionals, 65% of complaints never properly filed, 2% of victims missed crucial professional commitments. Back at the summit, Director Matthews unveiled the new national guidelines. First, standardized credential verification procedures, no more subjective assessments. Second, mandatory body camera use during all screenings. Third, clear reporting channels for discrimination complaints. Fourth, protection for officers who report colleagues' misconduct. Fifth, regular community feedback sessions. The reforms, dubbed the Lambert Protocol, would become a model for airports nationwide. Each point addressed failures exposed by Anton's incident, each solution designed to prevent future abuse. Linda Martinez, now promoted to head of community relations, organized the growing stack of implementation plans. Every major airport in the country has requested our new training materials, she told Anton. Outside the conference hall, the atmosphere had shifted. The protesters who had gathered daily since the incident now carried different signs. Change is happening, thank you, Agent Santos. Reform works in his small apartment. Walsh watched news coverage of the summit. His daughter's speech struck deep. For the first time, he began to truly see the impact of his actions. His phone rang, the police union representative with unexpected news. "Derek, they're offering you a choice," the rep said. "Retirement with mandatory bias counseling or face a public hearing with all your victims testifying." At FBI headquarters, Anton reviewed the final report with Director Williams. The investigation had expanded far beyond Walsh, revealing a network of informal practices that enabled profiling across multiple airports. "Your incident was the catalyst we needed," Williams noted, closing the thick file. "Sometimes it takes one clear example to expose systemic problems." The conference screens showed statistics that couldn't be ignored. 500 reported incidents nationwide, 2.3 million in missed flights and connections, 47 medical emergencies delayed by unfounded detentions, 12 diplomatic incidents caused by profiling. New training sessions began at Lambert International. Officer Rogers, now promoted to training coordinator, led discussions using footage from Anton's incident. "Watch how Agent Santos maintains his composure," Rogers pointed out to the new officers. "But more importantly, watch how many people simply walk past. That silence, that's what we're changing first. Sarah Walsh approached Anton during the lunch break, her eyes red but determined. In her hands, she clutched an envelope that seemed to carry the weight of years of unspoken words. The conference hall buzzed with activity around them, but in that moment, time seemed to slow. "Agent Santos," she began, her voice slightly trembling. "My father wanted me to give you this. He spent all night writing it." Inside the envelope, Walsh had written a full apology, not just for the incident with Anton, but acknowledging 2 decades of biased behavior that had impacted countless lives. "I convinced myself I was protecting people," Walsh wrote, his usually rigid handwriting showing signs of emotion. "But watching my actions through my daughter's eyes, through the eyes of those I wronged, I finally see the truth. I wasn't protecting anyone. I was hurting innocent people because of my own prejudices. My badge became a shield for bias rather than a symbol of protection." Director Matthews called the afternoon session to order, the room falling silent as she took the podium. The new policies were ready for nationwide implementation, each point carefully crafted to address the systemic issues exposed by the incident. Quarterly audits of all security interactions with detailed reporting, mandatory cultural competency training with real-world scenario practice, anonymous reporting systems for travelers facing discrimination, regular community oversight meetings with diverse representation, clear consequences for discriminatory actions, including termination, whistleblower protection for officers reporting misconduct, monthly review of security interaction statistics by demographic. In the conference room, successful minority professionals shared their stories, each account adding weight to the need for change. Dr. James Lee described missing a critical surgery while detained for a credential check that lasted hours. Captain Rodriguez spoke about her flight crew waiting helplessly while she was questioned about her pilot's license. "Each of us represents dozens more who stayed silent," Dr. Lee said, his voice carrying years of accumulated frustration. "Who accepted the humiliation as the price of success, who learned to arrive hours early, knowing we'd likely face random screening. That ends today." Anton stood at the podium next, facing the packed room that had fallen completely silent. Camera flashes punctuated the stillness as he began to speak, his words measured and purposeful. "What happened that day wasn't just about one officer or one airport, he said, his voice carrying to every corner of the room. It was about a system that needed change, a system that allowed bias to masquerade as security. Today, we're making that change not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. Across the country, airports began adopting the Lambert Protocol. Security checkpoints installed new signage clearly stating travelers' rights. Officers received updated training focusing on standardized procedures rather than subjective assessments. Reporting systems were streamlined to ensure no complaint went unheard. Walsh chose retirement, entering mandatory counseling as part of his separation agreement. His daughter's advocacy and his own recognition of his failures had opened his eyes to the need for change, not just in procedures, but in perspectives. In the main terminal, Linda Martinez monitored the new reporting system, watching real-time data flow across her screen. Every interaction was logged, every complaint investigated, every pattern analyzed. The culture of silence that had protected biased behavior was ending, replaced by transparency and accountability. 1 month after the summit, Anton received a call from the Secretary of Homeland Security. The Lambert Protocol was being considered for implementation at all federal security checkpoints. Its success at Lambert International proving that effective security and equal treatment could coexist. The final statistics told a story of real change that couldn't be ignored. 8% reduction in profiling complaints across all demographics, 2% increase in proper credential verification efficiency, 0 missed flights due to discriminatory practices, improved community relations. At participating airports, significant decrease in security-related lawsuits, higher job satisfaction among security personnel, increased public trust in airport security measures. Officer Rogers, speaking to a new class of security officers, summed up the transformation that had taken place. We're not just checking credentials anymore. We're checking our own biases, our own assumptions. That's what real security looks like. That's how we truly keep people safe. The morning light streamed through Lambert International's windows as Anton walked through the terminal where the incident had occurred. A small plaque now marked the spot, its bronze lettering catching the sunlight. Site of the Santos incident, where change began. Travelers paused to read it, many taking photos, some sharing their own stories of similar experiences. Security officers nodded respectfully as he passed. The atmosphere had shifted dramatically in the past month. Every checkpoint displayed clear procedures on large screens. Officers wore body cameras that blinked steadily, and every interaction was logged into a transparent system accessible to oversight committees. In Director Matthews' office, the weekly statistics painted an encouraging picture spread across multiple monitors. 0 bias complaints in the past 14 days. Average credential verification time reduced to 3 minutes, 100% compliance with new procedures across all shifts. Positive feedback from minority professionals up 95%. Significant reduction in security-related delays. Notable increase in employee satisfaction ratings. Improved community trust metrics across all demographics. Linda Martinez rushed in, carrying fresh data from the morning's analysis. Agent Santos, these numbers are remarkable. Not a single minority professional has reported feeling disrespected during screenings this week. No extended detentions, no missed appointments, no complaints of bias. She spread the detailed reports across Matthew's desk. Each page told the story of successful reform through hard data and personal testimonials. Doctors praised the efficient new credential verification system. Business executives noted the professional treatment regardless of ethnicity. International travelers commented on the improved atmosphere. The morning news played across multiple screens, various channels covering the ongoing changes. Lambert International's reforms become national model for security procedures. Historic changes in airport security following Santos incident show promising results. Bias incidents drop nationwide as Lambert Protocol gains adoption. Security experts praise new procedures for combining efficiency with respect. Department of Homeland Security considers nationwide implementation of Lambert Protocol. At the FBI field office, Anton reviewed requests from other agencies, police departments, government security offices, border patrol stations, and private security firms all wanted to implement similar reforms. The stack of inquiries grew daily, each organization seeking guidance on implementing their own version of the Lambert Protocol. "Your incident changed more than airports," Assistant Director Chen said, gesturing to the mountain of requests. "It's changing how we think about security everywhere. Law enforcement agencies are finally realizing that bias doesn't make us safer, it makes us vulnerable." Dr. Sarah Kim, the neurosurgeon who had been detained for 3 hours by Walsh just months ago, returned to Lambert International for the first time since her detention. This time, she cleared security in minutes, her medical credentials properly verified through the new standardized system. "I almost cried," she told reporters, gathered at her gate. "To be treated with dignity, with respect, it sounds small, but it means everything. Last time I was here, I missed a critical surgery because someone decided my credentials couldn't possibly be real. Today, I was treated like the professional I am." In the security office break room, Officer Rogers led the morning briefing. The wall displayed photos of successful minority professionals, doctors, lawyers, pilots, agents, each representing someone who had faced discrimination before the reforms. Their stories, printed beneath their photos, served as daily reminders of why the changes mattered. "Remember," he told his team, pointing to the photos, "credentials don't have a color. Excellence doesn't have a race. We're here to verify, not prejudge. Each person who comes through our checkpoint deserves the same professional treatment, the same respect, the same efficiency." The new training protocols emphasize practical scenarios. Officers practiced credential verification using standardized procedures, regardless of the traveler's appearance. Role-playing exercises helped them recognize and counter their own biases. Video analysis of past incidents taught them how to identify and prevent discriminatory behavior. "The old way of thinking cost us more than lawsuits," Rogers continued, his voice carrying the weight of experience. "It cost us our integrity. It cost innocent people their dignity, their opportunities, sometimes even their ability to save lives. That stops with us, here and now." Outside, the morning sun climbed higher over Lambert International. Travelers moved efficiently through security checkpoints, their credentials verified quickly and The national media descended on Lambert International 1 month after the reforms began. CNN, Fox News, MSNBC. Their satellite trucks lined the terminal entrance as reporters prepared to cover what they called the Lambert Revolution in airport. "Security!" Inside the terminal's main conference room, Anton sat beside Director Matthews for a national press conference. The room buzzed with activity as journalists set up their equipment, each hoping to capture the story that had sparked nationwide change. "Agent Santos," a reporter from the Washington Post began, "your incident has inspired similar reforms at 37 major airports. Did you expect this level of impact?" Before Anton could respond, the doors burst open. A group of minority professionals, doctors, lawyers, pilots, and business executives entered the room. Dr. Sarah Kim stepped forward as their spokesperson. "We're here to share our stories," she announced, "because what happened to Agent Santos wasn't unique. It was just the first time someone had enough power to make it public." The testimonies began. Each person stepped forward, sharing their experience. Neurosurgeon who missed performing emergency surgery because of extended credential verification. A federal judge detained for using a suspicious parking permit. An airline captain questioned about her possibly fake pilot's license. A corporate CEO held for hours because his credentials seemed too good to be true. At the FBI headquarters, Assistant Director Chen monitored the press conference while reviewing the latest national statistics. Major airports now implementing Lambert Protocol, 82% reduction in bias complaints, nationwide 95% improvement in credential. Verification efficiency, 0 lawsuits filed for discriminatory practices in participating airports, significant. Increase in minority professional travel confidence, Linda Martinez coordinated with airport officials across the country, sharing Lambert's training materials and implementation strategies. Her phone rang constantly with questions about the new procedures. How did you handle initial resistance from older officers? What's the best way to implement the body camera system? Can you share your bias recognition training modules? In the airport's main terminal, Officer Rogers conducted a training session for visiting security officers from other airports. The classroom was packed as he played footage from various incidents, including Anton's. Watch for the warning signs, he explained, the unnecessary escalation, the dismissal of valid credentials, the assumption of guilt without evidence. These aren't security procedures, they're bias in action. Outside, protesters who had once demanded change now carried signs of gratitude. Thank you, Agent Santos. Lambert leads the way. Real security. Equal treatment. Walsh's daughter Sarah continued her speaking tour, sharing her perspective at law enforcement conferences nationwide. Her message resonated with departments struggling with similar issues. My father's story isn't unique, but his consequences can be. We can change this system. Lambert International proved it's possible. The afternoon news covered another milestone. The Department of Homeland Security announcing plans to implement the Lambert Protocol at all federal security checkpoints. Following the remarkable success at Lambert International Airport, these reforms will become the new standard for security. Operations nationwide. In Matthew's office, the daily reports showed continuous improvement. 0 bias incidents for 40 consecutive days. Record high customer satisfaction scores, improved employee morale across all departments. Faster average security clearance times increased. Public trust ratings. Anton reviewed the latest implementation guide, a comprehensive manual detailing every aspect of the reforms. The document would soon be distributed to security operations across the country. This is more than policy change, he told Matthews. It's a fundamental shift in how we approach security. We're proving that effectiveness and equality aren't mutually exclusive. The evening brought another milestone. A prestigious civil rights organization announced plans to honor Lambert International with their annual Progress in Action Award. The ceremony would recognize the airport's role in transforming security culture nationwide. The award ceremony at the National Civil Rights Museum drew leaders from across the country. The Grand Hall buzzed with energy as airport directors, security chiefs, and civil rights leaders gathered to celebrate what media now called the Lambert Effect. Anton sat in the front row, his father beside him. The elder Santos, now retired from police work, squeezed his son's hand. Who would have thought, he whispered, that one incident could change so much? Director Matthews took the stage, her voice carrying authority as she addressed the packed auditorium. 1 month ago, a biased officer confronted the wrong person at the right time. Tonight, we're not just celebrating the changes at Lambert International. We're celebrating a transformation spreading across the nation. The screens behind her displayed the latest statistics. Major airports implementing Lambert Protocol, 91% reduction in discrimination complaints, 96% improvement in security efficiency, zero litigation for bias incidents, record high minority professional. Travel Rates Linda Martinez presented video testimonials from travelers across the country. A Filipino-American surgeon. I no longer have to arrive 3 hours early expecting harassment. A black federal judge. My credentials are verified, not questioned. An Indian-American airline pilot. I walk through security with confidence now. Assistant Director Chen stepped up next, revealing new FBI initiatives based on the Lambert Protocol. Nationwide security officer bias recognition training standardized. Credential verification procedures, mandatory body camera programs, real-time incident reporting systems, community oversight committees. Sarah Walsh's presentation drew particular attention. Her father's story, told from a daughter's perspective, highlighted the human cost of unchecked bias. My father lost his career, but more importantly, he lost his way. The Lambert Protocol isn't just about preventing discrimination. It's about saving good officers from their own worst instincts. Officer Rogers shared training footage showing the dramatic improvements in security interactions before extended hostile credential checks. After professional verification procedures. Before, minority professionals facing constant suspicion. After, equal treatment, regardless of appearance. The ceremony reached its climax as Anton approached the podium. Camera flashes filled the room as he accepted the Progress in Action Award. This isn't just about one incident or one airport, he began. It's about recognizing that true security comes from competence, not prejudice, from verification, not assumption, from respect, not fear. The standing ovation lasted 5 minutes. Back at Lambert International, the night shift security team watched the ceremony live. The break room erupted in applause as their airport received recognition for leading national change. In the terminal, travelers passed the commemorative plaque, many stopping to take photos. Some shared their own stories of transformation. I used to dread airport security, one doctor commented. Now I see it as a model for how things should work. Officer Rogers led his final training session of the day, new recruits from across the country filling every seat. The old system was built on fear, he explained. The new system is built on respect. Same security, better results. The night brought news of further expansion. Canada and the European Union had sent observers to study the Lambert Protocol, considering similar reforms for their airports. The international delegation filled Lambert International's largest conference room. Representatives from 27 countries sat attentively as Anton and Director Matthews presented the protocol's global implementation strategy. Security knows no borders, Anton began, addressing the diverse audience. And neither should respect for human dignity. The Lambert Protocol has proven that effective security and equal treatment strengthen each other. The presentation screens displayed multilingual statistics, 23% reduction in security delays, worldwide 89%, improvement in traveler satisfaction, 0 compromises in security effectiveness, significant increase in minority business travel, record high professional cooperation rates. European Union Security Commissioner Elena Rodriguez stepped forward. What started as one incident in one American airport has become a blueprint for global reform. Today, we announce the EU's full adoption of the Lambert Protocol. Asian Pacific Aviation Authority Chief Ming Chen followed. Our initial trials at Singapore and Tokyo airports show remarkable improvements. Bias complaints dropped 82%, while security effectiveness increased 47%. Linda Martinez coordinated with international training teams, her office now a hub of global security reform. Translation of training materials into 12 languages, cultural adaptation of bias recognition programs, implementation strategies for different regions, real-time data sharing across border standardized international verification procedures. In the main terminal, multinational security teams observed the protocol in action. Officers from London Heathrow, Paris Charles de Gaulle, and Dubai International watched as Lambert's team demonstrated their reformed procedures. "Notice the efficiency," Officer Rogers explained. "Standard verification takes less than 3 minutes, regardless of the traveler's background. Professional respect actually speeds up the process." The afternoon brought a surprise announcement. The United Nations Security Council had created a special committee to oversee the protocol's international implementation. Anton would serve as chief advisor. Director Matthews shared updated global statistics. St. 27 major airports implementing reforms, 4% reduction in discrimination complaints, 98% improvement in security efficiency, 0 security compromises reported, unprecedented levels of international cooperation. Sarah Walsh addressed the delegation. Her story now translated into multiple languages. "My father's bias affected countless lives, but his story helped change countless more. That's the power of turning a negative incident into positive reform." The international media coverage reached new heights. BBC: Lambert Protocol transforms global aviation security. Al Jazeera: New era in airport security begins. Deutsche Welle: World adopts American airports' anti-bias measures. Outside, a new monument was unveiled, a globe showing every airport implementing the protocol, each point of light representing lives changed for the better. The United Nations headquarters in New York City hosted the first Global Aviation Security Summit. Representatives from over 100 countries gathered to discuss the worldwide implementation of the Lambert Protocol. The General Assembly hall buzzed with multiple languages, all focused on one goal: transforming airport security culture globally. Anton stood at the historic podium, the same platform where world leaders had addressed global crises. Behind him, massive screens displayed real-time data from airports worldwide adopting the protocol. The numbers told a story of unprecedented change and cooperation across borders. International implementation statistics filled the screens. 56 major airports actively using Lambert procedures. 5% reduction in bias-related incidents. Globally, 97%. Improvement in security clearance. Efficiency. 0 security compromises in participating airports. Record high minority business travel rates worldwide. Unprecedented improvement in cross-border cooperation. Significant decrease in international security tensions. Dramatic reduction in security-related diplomatic incidents. Linda Martinez presented the comprehensive global training program, her voice translated simultaneously into 24 languages. Virtual reality bias, recognition modules in multiple languages, cultural sensitivity training, adapted for each region standardized. International credential verification, real-time incident reporting across all time zones, global oversight committee procedures, emergency response protocols, continuous improvement feedback systems, regional adaptation guidelines for local implementation. Airlines reported dramatic improvements in their operations. Reduced delays due to security procedures, increased passenger satisfaction scores, higher booking rates from minority professionals, improved crew morale and retention, better coordination with airport security, fewer missed connections due to prolonged screenings, stronger international route performance, enhanced reputation among global travelers. The UN Security Council announced expanded measures to support the protocol. Global Security Officer, exchange programs, international incident database, creation, standardized training certification system. Regular multinational security summits, joint operation centers in major hubs, unified emergency response protocols, continuous monitoring and improvement. Systems cross-border cooperation frameworks. Director Matthews shared the latest expansion plans, her presentation drawing enthusiastic responses from the international audience. What began as one incident at Lambert International has evolved into a global movement. Today, we're not just changing procedures, we're transforming the very culture of international travel security. The afternoon sessions focused on real-world impact, with testimonials from various sectors, diplomatic missions, reporting smoother travel experiences, international business conferences, seeing higher attendance rates, medical professionals making critical appointments, consistently academic exchanges. Flowing more efficiently across borders, cultural events, drawing increasingly diverse participants, sports teams traveling without discriminatory incidents, religious pilgrims experiencing respectful treatment, international journalists noting improved press freedom. Sarah Walsh addressed the international audience, her father's story now resonating across cultures. My father's story transcends borders. Bias in security isn't just an American problem, it's a human problem. And now we have a human solution. His mistakes led to changes that are improving lives worldwide. Technical teams demonstrated the latest innovations in security technology, AI-powered bias detection systems with multiple language support, multi-language credential verification platforms with instant translation, real-time global incident tracking with automated alerts, international security cooperation networks for immediate response cross-border, emergency response coordination protocols, universal security officer training standards with cultural adaptation, worldwide implementation support systems. With 24/7 Assistance Officer Rogers conducted a masterclass for international trainers, his experience now benefiting security officers worldwide. The key is understanding that security and respect aren't opposing forces. They're complementary. When we treat people with dignity, they cooperate better. When we verify instead of assume, we're actually more secure. The summit concluded with a powerful demonstration of unity. Security officers from dozens of countries performing the same. Reformed checkpoint procedure simultaneously, showing how standardized respect-based protocols could work across cultures and borders. The United Nations established the Global Aviation Security Command Center in Geneva, a state-of-the-art facility dedicated to monitoring the worldwide implementation of the Lambert Protocol. The sleek building hummed with activity as experts from every continent coordinated the largest security reform in aviation history. Anton toured the facility with UN Security Chief Maria Gonzalez. Multiple screens covered the walls, each displaying live feeds from participating airports. Dubai International showcasing seamless cultural integration, London Heathrow demonstrating rapid credential verification, Tokyo Narita executing perfect professional courtesy, Sydney Airport handling complex international transfers, O'Hare International processing record passenger volumes, Frankfurt Airport managing multinational security. Teams Singapore Changi setting new efficiency standards. The command center's latest statistics painted a picture of global transformation. T9 major airports fully protocol compliant, 96% reduction in security-related complaints, 98% improvement in processing efficiencies, zero security breaches reported worldwide, record-breaking international travel rates, unprecedented levels of passenger satisfaction, significant increase in minority business travel, dramatic reduction in missed connections. Linda Martinez coordinated the global training network from her new office. 7. Support for international security teams. Real-time incident resolution assistance, cross-cultural communication, guidance, emergency response coordination, continuous procedure. Updates performance monitoring systems, resource allocation management, regional adaptation support. The afternoon brought together security chiefs from 6 continents. The protocol has revolutionized our approach. Heathrow, efficiency and respect work hand in hand. Dubai, our officers now truly understand security. Sydney, professional verification trumps profiling. Frankfurt, we're safer when we're fairer. Singapore, Lambert showed us the way forward. The Tokyo director Matthews presented the 6-month Global Impact Report. International business travel up 45%, diplomatic incidents down 89%, security efficiency improved 92%, cross-border cooperation increased 78%, passenger satisfaction at record 97%, security. Staff retention up 65%, training effectiveness at 94%, cost savings reaching $1 billion. The UN Security Council announced expanded protocol applications, border control integration, maritime port adaptation, train station implementation, major event security, government building access, international sports venues, cultural institution. Security Officer Rogers led an international training symposium. The protocol works because it recognizes a fundamental truth: respect enhances security. When we treat people with dignity, they become partners in the security process, not adversaries. Sarah Walsh shared new chapters of her father's story. He watches the global changes from home now, seeing how his mistake led to worldwide improvement. Sometimes the biggest failures can inspire the greatest reforms. The command center's main screen displayed a world map dotted with protocol-compliant airports, each point of light representing thousands of positive daily interactions. The network grew hourly as more facilities adopted the standards. This is more than reform, Anton told the assembled press. It's a reimagining of what security can be. We've proven that effectiveness and equality aren't just compatible, they're inseparable. The 1-year anniversary of the Santos incident approached, and Lambert International prepared to host a global commemoration. The terminal where it all began had been transformed into a temporary exhibition hall, documenting the journey from confrontation to worldwide reform. Director Matthews stood with Anton, surveying the displays before the incident, showing statistics of bias in airport security, the confrontation, featuring actual footage from multiple angles, immediate response, documenting the viral spread and public reaction, initial reforms, detailing Lambert's first protocol implementations, national adoption, tracking the spread across American airports, international impact, showcasing global implementation success, future initiatives, Fortulins presenting upcoming security innovations. The exhibition's central screen displayed running statistics. For 5 major airports now protocol compliant worldwide, 97% reduction in security-related discrimination, 99% improvement in credential verification, speed zero security compromises in participating facilities, record-breaking international passenger satisfaction, unprecedented levels of cross-border cooperation, significant decrease in security-related lawsuits, remarkable improvement in officer job satisfaction. Linda Martinez guided delegations through the reformed security checkpoints. Notice the efficiency, she explained. Standard verification takes exactly 2 minutes, regardless of the traveler's background. Respect actually speeds up the process. The day's schedule included testimonials from affected professionals, Dr. Kim performing emergency surgery after swift security clearance, Judge Martinez making court appearances without delays, Captain Rodriguez flying international routes without harassment, Professor Ahmed attending global conferences on schedule, Ambassador Chen praising diplomatic travel improvements, surgeon Shah completing cross-border medical missions, Attorney Wong handling international cases efficiently. Officer Rogers presented the latest training achievements. 1,000 officers globally certified in protocol procedures. 80% reduction in bias-related incidents worldwide. Perfect security maintenance score across all airports. Improved officer retention and job satisfaction rates. Enhanced public trust in security operations, strengthened international security cooperation, superior emergency response. Coordination. Sarah Walsh revealed the human impact through personal stories. My father watches these changes from home, seeing how his mistake sparked a revolution in security culture. He's found purpose in helping others learn from his experience. The afternoon brought major announcements from international bodies, United Nations adopting protocol standards for all facilities, European Union implementing unified security procedures, Asian Pacific nations standardizing airport protocols, African Union developing continent-wide implementation, Middle Eastern airports reporting unprecedented success, South American facilities showing remarkable improvements, international sporting events. Adopting security reforms, global media covered the anniversary extensively. Lambert Protocol, 1 year of transforming global security. From confrontation to cooperation, the Santos effect. Airport security revolution marks first anniversary. World celebrates new era in travel safety. Lambert standards now, global security benchmark. The command center's screens showed real-time impacts. International business travel reaching new heights, cross-border medical missions operating smoothly. Diplomatic relations improving through easier travel, cultural exchanges, flourishing under new procedures, professional conferences, drawing diverse attendance, religious pilgrimages proceeding without incident, sports teams traveling efficiently between nations. The World Aviation Security Summit convened at Lambert International, marking the protocol's transformation from local incident to global standard. The terminal's Grand Hall, transformed into a state-of-the-art conference center, hosted representatives from every major airport worldwide. Anton took the stage as keynote speaker, addressing a room filled with aviation security leaders, civil rights advocates, and international diplomats. Behind him, screens displayed the protocol's cumulative impact, global implementation results. Year 1, 312 international airports fully protocol compliant, 98% reduction in discriminatory incidents, 9% security effectiveness rating, 0 terrorist incidents at participating airports, record high minority professional travel rates, unprecedented international cooperation levels, significant diplomatic relationship improvements, remarkable cross-border. Emergency Response Success Director Matthews presented the economic impact study, 3 lulls. 2 billion saved in reduced delays, 45% increase in international business. Travel, 67% improvement in airport operational efficiency. 9% reduction in security-related lawsuits. 92% decrease in missed connections. 95% improvement in passenger satisfaction, 8%. Increase in minority business conference attendance, substantial growth in international trade, relations. Linda Martinez shared the cultural transformation data. Bias complaints virtually eliminated security staff diversity at historic highs. Officer retention rates improved dramatically. Public trust in airport security, soaring international cooperation, strengthened, cross-cultural understanding enhanced, professional respect, standardized community relations transformed. The afternoon sessions featured international success stories. London Heathrow reporting 0 bias incidents. Dubai International praising improved efficiency. Singapore Changi showcasing perfect compliance. Sydney Airport celebrating diversity milestones. Frankfurt Main achieving record satisfaction. Tokyo Narita demonstrating cultural sensitivity. O'Hare International leading American adoption officer Rogers conducted the global training review. We've trained 75,000 officers worldwide in protocol procedures. Each one represents countless positive interactions. Each interaction represents lives improved. Sarah Walsh's presentation drew emotional responses. What began with my father's prejudice has become a worldwide movement for change. His story now trains officers across the globe on what not to become. The evening concluded with a powerful announcement. The United Nations would establish the Santos Security Institute, a permanent center for training and maintaining global security standards based on the Lambert Protocol. The Santos Security Institute opened its doors on the second anniversary of the incident. The gleaming glass and steel building stood adjacent to Lambert International Airport, a permanent monument to the transformation of global security culture. Inside, the main atrium, a wall of screens displayed live feeds from protocol-compliant airports worldwide, each demonstrating the new standard in professional security. London Heathrow, processing diplomats, efficiently Dubai, international, handling cultural sensitivities, Singapore Changi, demonstrating perfect verification, Sydney Airport, showcasing rapid, air processing Frankfurt Main, executing flawless coordination Tokyo Narita, displaying professional courtesy O'Hare, international setting efficiency records. The Institute's inaugural class included security officers from 95 countries, all gathered to learn the protocol's core principles: professional courtesy, a standard procedure, efficient credential verification techniques, cultural sensitivity in security operations, bias recognition and prevention, emergency response coordination. International Cooperation Standards Public Trust Building Methods Director Matthews presented the 2-year impact report. 56 airports fully. Protocol compliant 99.9%, reduction in bias incidents, perfect security maintenance, record high international travel rates, unprecedented passenger satisfaction, maximum operational efficiency achieved, 0 security-related diplomatic incidents, complete. Transformation of security culture. Linda Martinez demonstrated the latest training innovations, virtual reality bias, prevention modules, real-time translation systems, cross-cultural communication tools, emergency simulation programs, international coordination platforms, performance tracking, software, continuous improvement, protocols. The afternoon brought testimonials from global leaders. The protocol has revolutionized international relations. Security and respect now work in perfect harmony. We've entered a new era of global cooperation. Professional courtesy enhances security effectiveness. The Santos incident changed aviation forever. Officer Rogers addressed the inaugural class. What started as one confrontation has become the global standard. Every interaction is an opportunity to prove that security and respect strengthen each other. Sarah Walsh shared the final chapter of her father's story. My father watches this institute rise from the ashes of his mistake. His error led to evolution, his prejudice to progress. Anton delivered the closing speech. 2 years ago, a biased officer confronted the wrong person at the right time. Today, we celebrate not just change in one airport, but transformation across the world. The protocol isn't just about security, it's about humanity. As the sun set on Lambert International, the Institute's lights illuminated the sky, a beacon of progress visible from miles away. Inside, the first class of international officers began their training, carrying the promise of continued transformation into the future. The Santos incident, as it would be forever known, had changed more than security procedures. It had proven that one moment of confrontation could lead to worldwide transformation, that bias could be replaced by professionalism, that respect and security could strengthen each other, And somewhere in the steady stream of travelers moving efficiently through Lambert International's checkpoints, the next chapter of the story was already beginning.